You should be asking yourself what spinning a ball on my finger has anything to do with my obsession for helicopters. Stick around and find out. Welcome back, and for those who are new to the channel, my name's Cali. I'm the okayest engineer, and for the last 7 or so months, we've been building a completely custom XE290 from Composite FX down here in my basement. I've been delaying making this video for as long as I could, but I need to make some pretty big announcements for the channel. The first of which being what's the status of the helicopter. We're also going to go into what the future of the channel looks like. A lot of people have been asking questions about who I am and what my credentials are, what got me into helicopters, so we'll go over that. And then finally, it's Oshkosh. That's next week. I will be there, and I hope to see at least a handful of you there as well. And to not delay any further, let's jump right into it. What is the status of the helicopter? So a little bit of history here. 2 years ago at Oshkosh, I placed my deposit down for this helicopter. That was 2023. From there, I was basically given a rough timeline that I should receive all my parts within a year. So think Oshkosh 2024. Just after Oshkosh, I did get a notification saying that my fuselage, all the fiberglass bits were ready to be picked up, and I scheduled a trip down to Florida to pick that up from the factory. After that, I started the YouTube channel, thinking that we could work through the bodywork and the big carbon fiber cowling that I had been planning from the start. The hope was that by the time I finished this, that the remaining of those parts would show up and I would have more to do. So that's basically where we are now. It's Oshkosh now 2025 next week. So that's 2 years, and I still don't have any more components to build this helicopter. The the cowling is basically finished as far as I can take it without having additional parts, and I'm kind of at a standstill. For those of you who have been following along, most of this channel has consisted of doing composites. That was not my goal. I obviously wanted to share the building process of the helicopter, and it just hasn't been that yet. I do have some more to do. I have a seat that I need to make. That's actually my next composite project. And then I'm also going to make a carbon fiber dash that will be more ergonomical for the pilot when they're fully strapped in, and will house a larger Garmin unit in there. So there is more composite works, but to be completely frank, I'm over composites for a little while and would love to sprinkle in some other stuff in the meantime. Not having the kit, and to be frank, not even having an estimated delivery date for any additional parts, I am frustrated, but that is where we are. I have talked to Dwight at Composite FX many times. I mean, I respect that individual more than I can express. I know he's doing his best to recover from COVID and with supply chain issues. And so I get what they're coming from. It also doesn't make anything any better for me not having parts. So we'll leave that where it is. So the next question is, well, what are you going to do with the channel, and what's next for everything else? Well, I am the okayest engineer. I'm not the okayest helicopter builder, thank God. And to be frank, the more DIY content on this channel has actually done very well. I made a vacuum pump for my composites. I did a full-size oven for curing composites, and those seem to, perform well. So with that, I think, mainly because I enjoy doing them, I'm going to come up with a handful of projects, maker projects to do that you guys can follow along with, that I think are really fun, and are even things that you can do yourself. So there will be more of those sprinkled into this channel. I will continue to do composite works. As I mentioned, there are a handful of projects still left to do, and we'll just keep going until I can get more parts from Composite FX. Um, I know it's a bummer. I hope you stick around and I hope you follow along. I really am honestly excited about some of the content to come, so I think you'll find it interesting. And if you're a nerd like me, I truly think you'll enjoy it. And considering we're already in story mode, let's go into who the heck is Cali and why helicopters, why engineering, everything else. In order to do this right, I do have to give some history on who I am, because I think it paints a really big story on how I got to where I am today and why helicopters. So I grew up in California. As a kid, I was fascinated with anything weird. I can ride a unicycle, I can balance a ball on my finger. Anything that was out of the ordinary, I was all about it. RC, remote control things came in at a very early age. The junk ones just never satisfied me, and so I learned about tower hobbies. You guys probably remember, I'm 38, way back when you used to get a magazine, Tower Hobbies magazine, and in there I think there was like a $15 discount card that you saved so you could use whenever you ordered via telephone. So anyways, Tower Hobbies was a thing. I had, I don't know how, but two neighbors that were big RC plane people, and one of those had a helicopter. I was maybe 8 at the time or so, fascinated by the RC helicopter, and I went over and I asked him if I could fly it, as naive as I was, and his response was, "I'll let you fly this helicopter when you can balance a basketball on your finger." To his surprise, I went home that night and tried and tried and tried. If you don't know, I'm stubborn and determined. And I came back the next day balancing a ball on my finger, to which he still said I couldn't fly it. I remember it like it was yesterday, but that is the sole reason that I can balance a ball on my finger. I suck at basketball. I'm somewhat athletic, but definitely no reason for me to ever try to do that. So that's how helicopters started. That was my introduction into RC. I built my first Gentle Lady when I was probably 7 from balsa when they were kits, basically by myself, determined. I've been mechanical for my entire life, and RC stuff was always accessible. It wasn't extremely expensive, although it was expensive. But yeah, so that was my introduction into flight. My father, he has been a private pilot for longer than I've been alive. He acquired a A36 Bonanza right before I was born. Back then you could buy those for 30 grand. Not so much the case anymore. He still has that today, and one day I hope to be able to take that off his hands when he's done flying. But yeah, so that is my dad. My brother, he ran into the commercial pilot kind of trajectory. He now flies business jets for really rich people. And I always, once again, stuck to the remote control stuff. At age 15 or so, I got my first Raptor 30. I put literally every penny I could find together to get that helicopter. And I flew the crap out of it. Loved that, and that's where I spent all my weekends. Clearly, I'm a nerd. As soon as I got my driver's license, I just went to the flying field and flew helicopters. So fast forward a little further, I got through high school, graduated, and got into cars. I had this wild, crazy idea I saw on Super Street magazine. Someone put the engine in the trunk of a Del Sol and made a rear-wheel drive Del Sol. At the time, I had just gotten a Del Sol, and ended up breaking up with my girlfriend one summer, spending 28 days consecutively in the barn of my grandfather's farm, and successfully put the engine into the trunk of my Del Sol. Once again, 28 days. I had no life. I just did that. After that, the reason for the deadline is I actually needed to get to Vegas, where my dad was living, because we had planned on flying to Oshkosh, and my only way to get to Oshkosh or to Vegas was my Del Sol. So I got it finished. I drove it to Vegas. I left a shielded wire, not shielded, and the engine basically shut down, I think 3 or 4 times on the freeway. on my way there. I think it was the knock sensor, to be honest. And for all those Honda nerds, it was a B18C1 GSR engine. Anyways, that was my pride and joy. Got to Vegas and successfully made it to Oshkosh. Oddly enough, I was looking through my photos. That is the year 2007 when I saw my first Mosquito at Oshkosh. It was a red one, pictured here. And that started my fascination with the Mosquito. I told myself I would build one of those one day. I never knew if I would ever have 50 grand laying around to be able to afford that. I grew up, to be honest, pretty broke. And I've had a consistent job since I was 15 and a half. I flipped signs on a street corner for $8.47 an hour way back then. I've helped pay the mortgage. I mean, definitely I didn't come from privilege in the slightest, despite even my dad owning a Bonanza, which in today's standards seems like you can only be rich to do so. So anyways, made it to Oshkosh, found the Composite FX Mosquito, and it has been just stuck in my mind ever since. It was about that time that I had just finished my second year of community college in California. It was trying to grow up and put my big boy pants on and go to a real college. Had such a great time in Oshkosh that I actually met some people from Ohio and decided that Ohio would be a great place to go to college. I applied at Ohio State University and then went there the following year. Best part of my life, I joined the Formula SAE team where we built, it's a student program team where you build like a half-scale Formula One car from the ground up, basically using a street bike engine, 4-cylinder engine that's restricted down. That year, we made a big jump from a space frame tube chassis to a full carbon composite monocoque, or we call it a bicoque. It had two carbon tubs that bolted together. I basically forced my way onto that team. I started and never left. I now have my best friends that I've ever made from that team, and we still get together even today. But anyways, I was in charge of the drivetrain that then went into some of the chassis. I was the only person on the team with any machining experience. I worked right out of high school at my grandfather's machine shop, so I knew how to do CNC coding, run mills and lathes, and so I used that experience to machine a massive mold. It's kind of ridiculous back thinking now, but a huge mold for the rear tub. It was too big to fit in our CNC machine, so I split it up into, I think it was 13 pieces, and then pinned them all back together for that layup. So that's where some of my carbon fiber experience comes from. We did all hand layups then, so no infusion. So this was a huge learning experience regardless. But anyways, huge part of my life was Formula SAE. And I mean, you learn more on that team than an engineering degree will ever give you. I unfortunately know more useless engineers with degrees than good ones. And I actually don't put much value, to be frank, on even my degree. I think the degree means nothing. It's what you do with it and the things you can build with it. I have a family now. Both my wife and I are both engineers, hence the okayest engineer. I got the opportunity to go to Oshkosh. I'll tell a story when I'm flying. It's actually too long for this video, but the way that the way that this mosquito came about is kind of hilarious and paints me as a horrible individual. And I love my wife more than words can express. I don't know how she puts up with me, but I was able to put the deposit down on the mosquito 2 years ago, and here we are now. So yeah, I am a mechanical engineer. I've had more crazy projects in my life than I can count, including the rear-wheel drive Del Sol. And I've just always been one to just continually learn, continually to try crazy things. And that's what drives me. And so, yeah, I am a mechanical engineer. I spent the first handful of years of my career doing new product development for commercial and military aircraft, specifically in the fuel and bleed systems. I have metal 3D printed parts actually on X-59, which is NASA's low boom demonstrator. And I'll be able to take my kids to the Smithsonian one day, hopefully when they retire that plane, and point to the back end of that aircraft and say, those are daddy's parts. I had no idea that was going to make me emotional. Love my kids. I have two beautiful daughters. They are my pride and joy. And a lot of people think, including my wife, that I'm crazy for stepping into one of these things. And to be honest, I told myself I'm going to. When that time comes, I don't know, I'll look at my kids and I may decide otherwise. But either way, I am taking this thing to completion, at least to see it finished. And I fully anticipate, flying this thing. I can't imagine that holding me back. So what's my flying experience? Basically none. Like I said, my dad's a pilot. I've obviously flown his plane. I got into remote control helicopters, as I mentioned, and flew the crap out of those. Then later on got into FPV drones, or racing drones. Another fun fact, I recorded the fly-through of West Coast Customs. They're a car modifier. They were on Pimp My Ride out in California. So the fly-through that they have, I actually did. I thought that was pretty sweet. Probably the coolest thing, or most famous thing I've ever done. So I got into that. I can fly first-person view drones, which, I mean, there is some correlation, but I found out quickly it's not that much. I do autonomous drones just for fun. And so that's all my RC flying experience. I did take 3 hours, and I would not recommend anyone else do this, and it was probably not recommended for me, but the first time I did get into a helicopter, I took 3 straight hours of instruction, and I was just gassed and exhausted by the end of it all. I am proud to say that I was able to hover by myself, and I actually traced the numbers at the edge of the runway, or at the end of the runway, by the time that 3-hour session was finished. I will be, without question, getting my helicopter license before flying this helicopter. There are ultralights. I think it's a death wish. I was massively humbled when I got into that helicopter and attempted to hover it the first time, even despite having thousands of hours of flying remote control things, even in first person view. There is just nothing like it, and it is extremely difficult. So that is me in a nutshell. The last thing, Oshkosh is a big time of year for me. My dad and I are going again this year. We'll be camping in Camp Scholler. I had some t-shirts made on a whim on Monday that say The Okayest Engineer and have a QR code on the back for my YouTube channel. If you see me, do not hesitate to tap me on the shoulder, say hi. I'd love to meet basically anyone there. I'm fairly outgoing, so not shy to say hi. And Oshkosh is going to be just a blast. Love it every time. I'll be there Tuesday through Saturday. Hope to see, once again, everyone there. So, as always, and in light now of how you know who I am and what makes me tick, hence the tagline, never stop learning, because I never do. Go build something cool, because it's literally what makes me tick. And we'll see you on the next one.